Welcome back to The School Shrinks, episode 5. As always, I'm Chris Ponce, and with me are the 2 men of the hour, Brook Roberts and Joel Bell. How you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
Hey, Chris and Joel. Good to be back. Thanks for having me. Let me come back for 5 episodes now.
Yeah. Well, we need it because we get a tax break for having geriatrics on the show. So.
Oh no!
Wow.
That didn't even take 5 seconds.
All right, let me get that one out.
You know, why don't you go for something a little tougher of a target?
Okay, fair enough. Just,
I mean, that's some pretty low hanging fruit.
that's fair. It's because we love you, though.
Okay.
How you doing?
Couldn't resist.
How you doing, Joel?
Oh, I'm doing great. Fantastic. Ready to give some tips and tricks tonight.
Oh, yeah,
to grad students.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get there, did you guys have a good 4th of July?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Wasn't too eventful, just ate some more, and then watched the fireworks. And then there was a field fire where I was watching the fireworks. So that was, I wouldn't say exciting, but, at least for the people whose field it was. But it was eventful, should I say.
There you go. Do you have a good one, Brooke?
Yeah, it was great. It's great. We went out to the lake. Well, there's one lake near us, so we went out to it, and it's about the size of maybe Rhode Island. I mean, proportionally to
That's pretty big.
No, it's not. It's not large. It's teeny tiny.
Well, that's cool.
There's a fast side and a slow side.
Okay. Walkway at an airport.
Which means in the slow side you can't have a wake on your boat or your watercraft.
You do a lot of water stuff, Brooke?
It's pretty lame. No, we used to do it a lot. So, but no.
Get your feet wet a little bit, splash around a little bit in there.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a sunburn.
Oh, well, you look great. Good. Skin tone looks good. Everything looks good, man.
All right. What about you, Chris?
Oh, so we actually took my 3-year-old son to the first movie. We went to the movie theater with him for the first time ever in his life. And that was a really big moment for me. Also a very stressful moment for me. So we have these theaters called the Alamo Drafthouse in San Antonio. They're great theaters, but they do kid and family friendly movies showings during the day. So we took him to go see a movie, which was great because, he was talkative, but he wasn't the only one. But he did really good for the most part. He started losing interest about 5 minutes before it ended. But he was engaged the whole time. But we've been kind of hyping him up for a theater experience for a long time now. So like at home when we watch movies, we're like, all right, it's time to be quiet. Let's all sit down. Let's watch the movie. And there's a lot of distractions because we're at the house. But yeah, he did pretty good. I was very surprised and happily surprised. So
yeah, what movie was it that you saw?
We were taken to go see Minions: Rise of Gru. So leading up into the movie, we were watching like Despicable Me stuff and Minions stuff to start getting them super excited for like, we're going to go watch the Minions. We're going to go watch the Minions. So even right before we were sitting in the theater and he's like, are we going to watch the Minions? Is it going to be here? And I'm like, yeah, it's that big screen right in front of us, man. So he was super excited. And we didn't hype him up on sugar because we don't want to do that. So not even a health reason. Like I'm just not dealing with that. So we got a bunch of popcorn because they have bottomless popcorn. So he just full on, just snack, just eating. So, but yeah, it went great. It went smoothly. I get a lot of anxiety with him out in public because he just stresses me out, not in a bad way. It's a personal thing. It's not a him thing. So I survived it, but my wife did great. She had it all under control. Classic VCBA move. And Oliver did great, and he's excited to go again. So we're very excited to take him.
Well, you should
Fantastic.
next time take him to the movie theater where you actually put your own butter on the popcorn and just let him go to town.
So yeah, just press
putting the butter into
37 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be great.
Well, that sounds great. I'm glad it was a great experience for him. First movie.
I appreciate that. So for our first segment of the day, I haven't been able to tell a story yet. So I want to tell what I think is a really funny school psych related story. But I have two really good ones, and I don't know which one to tell. So I'm going to let the boys here choose. So we have two options. One of them is called the sweaty interpretation, and the other one is called the alpha snack. That's two words, alpha snack. So I'm going to let you guys discuss amongst yourselves which one we're going to listen to.
I don't know, Joel. What do you think?
I don't know. That sweaty interpretation is sounding quite mouth-watering.
You really can't pass up sweaty, can you?
Yeah.
So,
start calling it the moist.
let's get it.
Sweat for
Let's
500.
get the sweat for 500,
Okay.
Alex.
All right, we'll do that one. Okay. So this has to do with an interpretation for an evaluation I did a few years. This was pre-COVID. And to kind of give it some context, this was in April. So we're coming off being cold season in San Antonio. And I, at the time, and I still really do, I have like a security jacket that I wear. Like not like doesn't say security, but like something that gives me comfort. So I'll like wear it during the day as I'm on the campus because the campuses are usually pretty cold. But that's important to know going forward. Okay, so I had been evaluating this fifth grade student for autism, and I had called the parents who were amazing parents, super friendly, super nice, and wanted to set up an interpretation. Well, typically nowadays I kind of do them virtually, but at the time we would do them kind of in person. So they're like, all right, we'll do it right after school on whatever day. And I was like, all right, just come on up. We have a conference room set up. I can show it up on the screen in front of us, and I can just go through everything. We can just talk about it together. All right. So it's set up, yada, yada, yada. School gets out about 2:40 and where I am in elementary school. And I told the parents to be here at 3:00. Right. So after the crowd is gone, we'll get them in, we'll do the interpretation. They'll be gone with their lives. So around 2:30, I decided to all right, I'm going to take everything outside to my car right now, because by the time I'm done with the interpretation, I will be able to leave. Right, I can just go home after that. So that way I don't have to go back up to my office, grab all my stuff, and go back outside. So if you're a traveling school psych or a school psych that has multiple campuses, you bring your test kits with you everywhere. Right, so I got one test kit on a rollie, and then I stack everything else on top like a Jenga thing, and then I have all those test kits. I have my jacket that I'm wearing. And then I have like a satchel, like a duffel bag kind of thing that I strap over me. And I have a backpack, right? Because I have multiple campuses. I got to take files with me to all these different places. I write reports on different campuses. So I'm loading up like I'm going to war. Okay. And the way our campus is set up is like a Tetris piece. That's the 3 and then the 2 right here, right? So we have 2 stories, 2 very long hallways, and then a middle on the first floor. Okay. I'm upstairs. I come down the elevator, and then I walk all the way to the left for me, right? Because I'm parked on this parking lot, and the front doors are right here. So I'm walking down, no issues here whatsoever. Brooke, do you have a question?
No, keep going.
I just want to make sure. Save questions for the end, please. So I'm walking all the way down, and I throw everything in my car, right? The issue, though, is that as I'm walking, I notice it's already 2:45, right? It's taking me a little bit longer than I expect. So I give myself a little bit of a trot, right? Going outside. And in San Antonio, you have to learn to work layers during this time of the year. So it starts off very cold, and it gets like 92 degrees in the afternoon. Remember, I have everything on, right? So as soon as I hit outside, I'm still trotting. I'm getting a little bit anxious because I noticed the time and I don't like being late. So I hurry out to the car, throw everything in there, put the bags in there, put the test kits in there, and I close the car, lock it, and start walking up. I've now noticed about halfway back that I forgot to take my jacket off. So I'm still wearing my jacket in like 92 degrees with anxiety and with a little bit of a jog run going on, right? But my badge doesn't work through the door I went through. So I had to go all the way to the front of the building to get back inside. So I do that. So I'm going in. I walk in through the front doors, and I notice, the parents are early, which is great in most circumstances, except for in a circumstance where you don't want them to be early because you're already starting to feel a little bit of wetness down the back of your neck, right? I walk in, I see them, I go, you guys are here early. Awesome. Let's go to the conference room. I've already put my laptop in there. We can go ahead and get started, right? So I'm doing pleasantries. I still have my jacket on. I go to the conference room. There is a bunch of people in there. And I'm like, and Chris didn't check to see if there was going to be use before I went in there. And like, oh yeah, we're having a paraprofessional meeting. I'm like, oh, okay, can I get my laptop? And so I grab my laptop. I'm like, all right, we're going to have to go back upstairs to my room. I still have on my jacket, haven't taken it off for some reason, and now I have a laptop, and now I'm slightly embarrassed. So now I feel it kind of just starting to come down my forehead and into my arms. My armpits are getting a little bit airy. Like I can't do anything with that either. So we're going up the stairs all the way to my room, which is all the way down upstairs, all the way down the hallway. Finally, to my room, we sit down. Because I had my computer closed for such a long time, it had turned itself off automatically. So I sit down, I take off my jacket. I'm already sweating. I'm pretty sure there's a nice little ring going around my neck. And I turn on my computer, and we sit there and wait for the computer to turn on. These are very nice parents, but they're also very introverted. So I'm trying to make small talk with them. All three of us notice there's sweat coming. Right? And I wear glasses. And for any glass wearers, like that your glasses will slowly kind of do this number. So I'm pushing my glasses up a lot. My computer finally gets on. I'm doing everything sideways because I want them to be able to see the screen. So I'm starting to type in all my credentials and sign on and like, all right, sorry, I have to get to like the website real fast. Whole time I'm like, you guys have a good day. That's so great. That's so good. Sweat's dropping and hitting my arm. That's pretty cool. We're just going to ignore it, right? They're good people. I'm a good person. We're just not going to talk about it. So I go ahead and sign in and stuff like that. And I'm starting to go over the stuff and I'm looking at them and sweat drops off my face and hits the computer and just like splashes. And I'm pretty sure a little bit of it hits the mother. Again, does the whole like arm underneath the desk. And also this is elementary school. So the table that we're sitting at is like elementary table. So it's a little bit shorter too. And we got some smaller chairs, right? So we're all kind of huddled around it. And I'm like, would it be okay if I were to go to the bathroom real fast? And they're like, it's a good idea. So I'm like, all right, can I run to the bathroom? They're like, yes. So I go in the bathroom and I'm like talking to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Did you guys see that movie?
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
well, it's the last Tarantino movie to come out, but Leonardo DiCaprio has a whole talk with himself inside of the trailer, and basically that's what I was doing in our third grade pod restroom. I'm like, Chris, come on, man, you're sweating.
Pull it together, man. Pull it together.
I'm like in the mirror. I'm wiping sweat off my face with like a napkin and everything, and I even like do the whole like, okay, and then I walk back in there without an incident. And even afterwards, they're like, "Are you okay?" Because you were sweating a lot, and I'm like, it was like 37 different variables that were playing a part in this. It was hot. I refused to put the jacket. I was anxious and I was running. And then I was embarrassed on top of all of that because I was sweating. So it just made it more profuse. And they're like, okay, we didn't know we should call somebody to ask if you needed help. So, so to dig myself out of this hole, have you guys ever had an awkward interpretation?
No, I don't think I've had anything like that. That I can think of. Did you get lightheaded or like start to pass out or anything?
No, not at all. Of course not.
Have you seen the family since then?
No, they were fifth grade, so that was the April. We had the yard, and they were
all right. All right. Then there's no problem about that.
But I guarantee you, I'm never going to forget the kid, and they're never going to forget. Remember that one school psych who basically sweated a swamp in his own office?
You didn't have like a big gulp to like chug down while you were doing your interpretation.
And I remember after they left, and I was like, "You guys know how to get out of here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got to go pick up our kid." I just sat in my room, just like,
we're okay.
I don't need you walking any more than you do, sir. So I just remember oh my God, this is awful. Thank God we do virtual. Well, did you guys have any about that?
Well, you left a memorable impression on them, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and that's how we get our name out there as psychologists.
That's right. If they didn't know what a school psych was before, now they do.
Hell yeah. All right. Let's story time with Chris. All right, so let's move on to our main topic and out of that embarrassment and into things that actually people can utilize. So we thought it'd be a good idea to do an episode where we talk about tips and tricks for grad school, and we're going to kind of break it down into 3 parts of grad school. So the application process, actually taking classes, and then what like little tips for after you graduate, because there are things you should think about. So first things first, I think it's some part that kind of made us want to do this is one, it's important to know this. Two, maybe I'm utilizing this selfishly because I just got into a doctoral program.
Hey,
so
Yeah,
congratulations, Chris.
and I'll be joining these two fine young gentlemen up in Lubbock one weekend out of a month. So I recently got accepted to Texas Tech University. So I'm very excited to be starting my PhD program. So a lot of these things, I was literally just in the trenches with this. But I think we should start off with the application process. So maybe we
now first of all, Chris. Now, what program is this? This is a PhD in what?
educational psychology. So, and
Okay.
hopeful to move over to the school psychology side, so I can be like you, gentlemen, which would be great for me. So, because that's truly the passion.
Congrats.
So yeah, so I'm very excited. And these guys really helped me throughout the process, and like many texts going back and forth of like, here, what should I say? What should I do? All that type of stuff. So, like I said, they've lived it. I literally just did it, and they give great advice. But I think a good important thing is references. So let's kind of start. Well, maybe not even that. Just where do you apply, right? I think and we're going to kind of generally speak about it across all fields. I think that's important. But I think you got to find something that you're passionate about, or you want to be passionate about, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's your purpose of going to graduate school? It's to further not just your education, but your knowledge, and especially in our field, in education or in mental health, it's to further and promote and develop your skills. And so you really need to everything needs to be centered around that enhancement right there. So when you're selecting people to write a reference letter for you, think about who is going to help your application stand up when you're being reviewed by these faculty members who want to teach you a certain specialization or a certain level of expertise.
Yeah, I agree too, and make sure that the person actually really knows you too, because I have definitely been desperate for some recommendation letters before and asked professors that really didn't know who I was, and so you want someone to give you actually a good recommendation, and not just like things that are just global, like, oh, they're such a great student, they are a hard worker. You want personable stuff in your letters of recommendation, not just things that are going to be, that aren't personable to who you are as a student in your academic career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember Joel asking someone to write a letter for me, and it had been a number of years since I had been a student in that professor's courses, and she couldn't recall me, and so I didn't stand out. Yeah, I didn't leave an impression. So, and I think it's, that's important for those of you who are listening or who are watching, our viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Think about when you're finishing a course, would that be somebody that you would like to go ahead and request a letter? I mean, at that time, say, can I go ahead and get a letter of recommendation for my files,
Right.
so that I could use that in the future? For somebody else, you may want to give them some talking points for a letter of recommendation. And a lot of times they very much appreciate that. Here are some things that I've been doing since we last communicated or since we last interacted. These are my accomplishments. Here's some things that maybe we discussed or we had in common when I was in your courses.
Would you give any advice to somebody, or hope you would give advice. What advice would you give to somebody who's maybe been they have a bachelor's degree, they graduated maybe a little while ago, so their professors definitely don't remember them, but now they're thinking about going to grad school. Like, should they be asking from like employers, or try to reach out to professors, or what? Because I feel like that may be an issue for some people.
I think it's really depends on what kind of program that you're applying into, what kind of graduate if you're applying into a doctoral program, and this is a doctoral program that tends to crank out PhDs who go on to become researchers and scientists and they become professors in higher education, you're probably going to need to maybe think about a different strategy so that your application can stand out. You've got to be thinking about that faculty member reading your application, and you're making an argument to them of why they need to accept you into this program. And they're not going to accept you if you come in and say, I want to have a doctoral degree, or, I just want to have doctor in front of my name. You've really got to make a case for why they need to be investing into you and putting their energy into somebody like you. Are you going to be able to further their publications? Are you going to be able to further their research agenda and their research lines? Because this is a kind of an interdependent relationship. They're giving you something, but you've also need to be providing some sort of benefit for that faculty member who invests that time and energy into you.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And also, if you're having trouble, like you were saying too, if you've been out of school for 10, 15 years and you're deciding that, hey, I want to go back and I want to get my master's or I want to get my doctorate. There are programs where it will specify, it says we can take some letter of recommendation from an employer, but they do usually like at least one professor to be a letter of recommendation. Usually for a master's degree program, it's 2, and then for like a doctoral degree, it may be 3, sometimes 4. But yeah, you can definitely ask your employer. I know some people have also, before they've gone back and gotten into an actual degree program, they've taken some courses or whatever to kind of get their feet wet. And then they may ask a professor that they've worked with, they may just take a few courses, maybe like a certificate program, or maybe just something, to kind of hone their skills or something before they jump straight in there to a doctoral program. And so you could probably ask those professors too, if you go that route.
Joel, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of universities, they're not necessarily going to advertise this, but there are opportunities to enroll in universities as a graduate temporary student or a non-degree program student, which may allow you to take 3 or 6 hours without being actually admitted or matriculated into a formal program. And that then provides a doorway or an avenue, mind you, that would allow you to even start working on some research projects with faculty members. Yeah. And that's going to make you more competitive for a doctoral program.
It also puts you on their radar, right? So they know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say that too. Yeah, they start to get familiar with you, and you start, especially if you're, pulling them aside and going into their office hours and stuff like that too, and asking them about that research stuff like Brook was talking about. Start asking them about some research projects that they can get involved in. And, I think that's a great strategy to get your foot in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a letter of recommendation.
Yeah. So we have the reference letters, we have the letter of recommendation. Let's move to the personal statement, because that's what gave me the most anxiety and stress throughout the whole application process. And I think, Brook, you kind of touched on it earlier, is it's basically hyping yourself up, but also selling yourself to a program as well. Like, why me instead of somebody else who's also applying? What can I bring to this program, right?
Right. Why me, but also why this university and this particular career and this particular professor that I want to come study with? Where do my interests or my competencies and capacities intersect with their interests and what they've been publishing and what they've been working on? What is it that they have to offer me that I'm not going to be able to get somewhere else? And that's, I think, a very important part of the personal statement. Another aspect that often goes overlooked in the personal statement is being able to address anything in your maybe transcript or in your resume that may be considered a flaw. And so those professors, those faculty members, they want to know, Why is it that you had some C's when you were a freshman in college? Why is it that when you took that you had to retake that stats course? And so just you go ahead and be honest and go ahead and say, look, I was immature at that time, but I've straightened myself up as is reflected in my grades from my junior and senior year.
Yeah. Yeah, honesty in that personal statement is key because they they will even I've even seen where they have told you not to embellish, not to fabricate stuff because people will try to get away with that. They'll say, I went into the jungles of whatever, and I've done this and I've done that, and that's why I've had to, and these committee members have heard everything. So you don't have to try to do that. You have to be personable. That's why it's a personal statement. You don't have to lie. You don't have to fabricate. Just be honest in about your shortcomings and about your successes.
Yeah. One thing that Brook gave me a lot of really good advice on, amongst a million other things, was there's a statement in the program that I was looking at where it talked about and identify a faculty member that you would want to work with. Right. And so I was already starting to go through them, and I texted Brook about a particular one. He goes, yeah, you should reach out to them. I go, what do you mean reach out to them? Talk to them. And that's a very common practice, right, Brook, to reach out and talk to an actual professor and then have that conversation to see if they can be a right fit. And I know I'm talking about a doctoral program, but I think in general, just speaking to somebody that's in the program is a smart idea. And I think that helps with the first thing of like, is this program right for me?
Right. And don't be surprised if you don't get a response. Some programs have a number of applicants and they have more than they can accept. And so, they're very rigid. They're very strict. They're looking for a very specific type of person, and they may not necessarily return a phone call or an email. But I still try, and I still try to make those personal contacts because I find that those web pages that talk about the faculty members and their profiles, they may be out of date. So that faculty member or even the program may have updated information that isn't necessarily for public knowledge at the time. And so trying to have that one-to-one personal contact, I think is to your advantage.
I think especially these days, you can do a lot of this stuff virtually, and this faculty member and I set it up really fast and we did it like the following week through Zoom, and we had a whole great conversation. Joel, did you reach out to somebody beforehand too?
The first time around, I reached out to somebody way ahead of time, even before I got out of my master's program, because I was just like, I need to get on their radar really early, and then have some email exchanges and then go meet this person. So even, before you actually put in your application, or even just like way before, get on and start talking to somebody, even if it's like a director of the program too. And they can sort of help try to guide you in the right direction as well. But I think that talking to somebody early on, when you start thinking about, hey, I want to apply to a doctoral program or even a master's program, thinking about that early on, talking to somebody early is very helpful.
You said first time, Joel. Have you ever been rejected? Because I've been rejected from a doctoral program. Have you been?
Yes. And I know exactly why. So I wasn't really surprised. I didn't have any experience at that point in time in school psychology. I applied to a school psychology program. I didn't have any experience, didn't have any counseling experience. I had at that time a degree in like human services and then one in sociology. And I thought, hey, school psychology sounds like a great career. And and I mean, I went and I talked to at the time the director of the program, and we had a great conversation, and I was like, oh, this went great. I lied to you not, like a day or two after I applied, I got the rejection letter, and I knew because I didn't have the experience in that particular, and they want a best fit for the program, and so I wasn't that at that time, so I had to go do some more things. But yeah, I was rejected. Ooh,
same here. I was
crazy.
I got to the interview process for my first doctoral program I applied for, and as we sat down, and first of all, I have a very certain sense of fashion and style, and I was the only one that looked like me at that interview. I was the only one that wasn't in a suit and tie. I don't wear suits and ties. I just don't. It's just not me. But I still dress nice. The only reason I wasn't in a shirt and like cargo shorts or anything like that. But also the questions they were asking, like I knew kind of the questions, but I wasn't prepared, and I don't think I was ready for that type of thing. Those like, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to get out of this? What is your research interest? Things like that. I think at the time, I just want, like Brooke was saying, I just wanted to be a doctor, but I wasn't prepared to like answer all the normal PhD type of questions. But I think that all in all, to say it's okay to be rejected, right? You learn from that experience.
Yeah.
You know you're maybe not ready for that yet, and I think that shouldn't dissuade you from applying down the road.
Absolutely.
I think let's move on to, let's say you're in grad school. All right, so you made it through the application process. You're in the program, whether it's master's or PhD. What should you do? I think a big thing is if you make friends, like your cohort and those around you, they're going through literally the exact same thing that you're doing. So to have them around you and to have that good core group of friends and those colleagues, those future colleagues, is really important because you guys can go through the trials and tribulations together and like take turns crying on people's shoulders because grad school's hard. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether you're in an online program or hybrid program or one that is on campus, definitely make friends. And I mean, you're going to definitely be able to help each other and support each other through this. Don't think that everybody is smarter than you. We kind of talked about that in our last episode of imposter syndrome, right? Don't think that everybody is just in it for themselves, because I can guarantee you a lot of your fellow classmates have the same sorts of questions. They're probably struggling with the same types of things in the class. Maybe they don't understand something. I can guarantee you, you're not going to be the only one not to understand a concept or a book or something. So definitely get in good with your cohort. That is very important.
Yeah, I mean, the culture of the program is going to be is different based on university. It's different based on the discipline. In most of the mental health fields and education type fields, there is a sense of collective responsibility and obligation. But that doesn't mean that there aren't some programs that are very cutthroat, where students are competing for attention and marks from professors. You may be in a program where there's a professor who says, I'm only going to write 2 letters of recommendation at the end of this year, and that'll be for the top 2 students in this class. And so there can be a sense of competition there. I think it's really important in those times to measure up, but also not to ruin relationships in the process.
Well, it's important also, I think, to become involved with things, right? Like, and I think that may be hard for some people, and it all depends on your situation. But look for instance, for us, we have state associations, we have national associations, we have conferences to go to. And if you are looking to continue on past the master's degree, to start knowing that this is what it's going to be like, right? I mean, but there's other ways to become involved too, right? Some people have, like, we had a student organization in my grad program. So that way we kind of did things on our own. That helped with our sense of community and our culture, and things like that. But I think that's an important thing. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. And Joel mentioned something earlier, taking advantage of faculty members' office hours. Be present when possible, even if that's virtual. Show up to those office hours, ask those faculty members what they're working on, or show them that you've read something that is supplemental to your required readings, and you want to just process that, or you want to discuss it with them. Ask your faculty members what projects they're working on, and if there's anything that you can get involved with them, because that's going to go a long way, and it's also going to help you learn.
Yeah. And what I would say also, make sure that you review that syllabi before the class begins throughout, because I remember being in one of the class and we were asking some questions. It was me and several other people, and finally the professor just said, "Read the syllabus." It just went off. And so definitely look at all of the assignments that I do, all of the readings and things like that, because that's going to be your guide through the entire course, you know. And of course, you can ask follow up questions, but they're going to expect you to have turned in your stuff on time, to have the readings completed for discussion. And so, read that syllabi in your class.
Brooke, how would you gauge how important it is to keep in touch with your professors after you graduate? Do you think that's an important thing?
I mean, I think it is. Your professors got kind of assimilated you into the field. They're going to be resources for you following your completion of a degree program, and in a lot of our fields we need to be networked. It has been a number of years since I finished my first graduate program, and at that time, the half-life of our knowledge was 10 years. So what that meant is that 50% of what we learned was outdated within 10 years. And I would bet you that we have expedited that it has accelerated to a great degree. And so how do you stay current? You've got to stay connected to your faculty and to that program.
Absolutely. Maybe let's do some tips that aren't as drastic or as dramatic as these, right? So like managing your time effectively, right? That should be an important thing, right? Learn how to manage your time. Brooke brought up a great one earlier today in another meeting we had. Find your academic calendar and like know those dates, right? That's important, right, Brooke?
Yeah, Adam, add those dates to your calendar, to your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, whatever. You're gonna have to be organized. You're gonna have to stay on top of it, because that end of the semester comes quickly. Another one that may be kind of I guess a lower. Still important, but it's okay to for all, for your classes to kind of, for you to use the same kind of topics for your research papers, and for the things that you're interested in presenting in. That's going to help you become more of an expert. And especially if you're writing a dissertation that comes 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you can do a lot of the legwork and a lot of the literature review ahead of time in your coursework, as you're gearing up towards studying a certain topic.
I see what you're saying. I was a little confused when you started saying that, but like, let's say traumatic brain injury is something you're going to do a dissertation on. Start doing that early with just regular presentations, right?
Every time you get an opportunity to present or to read on traumatic brain injury as a part of a course assignment, take that opportunity to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Joel, currently somebody who's in it, have you found any type of pitfalls or things that you would recommend not doing going forward?
Waiting to the last minute to find out who you want your dissertation chair and committee to be. I think that you definitely need to start thinking about it seriously as you begin the program. Not saying that you have to pick your dissertation committee the first semester or the first year, but really, in like we were talking about a little bit earlier, you'll start to get familiar with some of your professors and their research, but really start understanding who has research interests that align with your interest. Because if you're going to people and professors that have nothing, they don't have anything in common with what you want to do, you may run into some problems. So start really thinking about that early on, and pair that with what Brooke was saying, right? Like, start doing some work in your classes that already have something that pertains to what that dissertation topic may be. And so when you get there, you may already have like a part of your lit review done. You may already have certain steps completed, and you just kind of have to start piecing things together little by little. But that dissertation is a beast. And so start really organizing yourself for that early on.
And you're speaking specifically to a doctoral program when you talked about that, correct?
Yes, and you can apply that to your theses as well. If you're in a master's program or like in a specialist program, you can apply it, that way as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Brooke, any advice for master's level or specialist level?
Yeah. One other thing that I just thought about, you're going to get, you're going to start getting, once you get enrolled into a program, you're going to get emails from the graduate school and from the library and from places all over campus. Take advantage of that stuff. I mean, because it's free. It's not, well, it is free, but you're paying for it in your fees, right? And so take advantage of it, because when they offer a resume writing workshop, or they offer a statistical tutoring workshop, take advantage of that. The other thing is, you're going to get all kinds of announcements about awards, and ask every time you see something that you think, hey, could be considered for this, ask somebody to nominate you, and because it's going to look good on your vita or your resume. And that doesn't necessarily just go for doctoral programs. It's important to be recognized for your hard work.
Awesome. I agree. Before we kind of close it off, let's talk about post-graduation. Some things that you should kind of do at that point, right? I think a big thing that I've learned is be involved with your field, and not so much, and it's very specific towards school psychology, but running for board membership, right? Being a part of your state association, going to conferences, being involved. I think that's a good thing. It helps with, like Brooke said, staying up to date on things that are going on, but also, like, if you do want to pursue something down the road, it's networking. I mean, right, Brooke?
Yeah, it is networking. The other thing that I think you can do following graduation is advocate for your profession. I feel like our audience is mainly educators and mental health professionals, and so we are always going to need to be advocating for more positions, for more funding, and so make visits to your elected representatives' offices. Introduce yourself. They represent you, and you should go to them and tell them who you are and what you do, because at some point you're going to need to call on them, or they're going to need an expert to call, and so stay involved and connected to those kinds of people as well.
Yeah. And build a community with your group, right? I mean, you can do it through social media. I mean, I know there's a bunch of Facebook groups for all different types of professions and organizations and things like that, to be involved with that type of stuff. Follow people on different things that are doing cool things in the field. It's not only just the people you see at the conferences that are doing cool things. There's a lot of people that are in the trenches that are doing great things that you never hear about because they're not presenting at some conference, right? Maybe they don't have time or anything like that, So I think that's an important thing to do. And I think also being connected and staying connected to your program, I think that's a good thing too, to be with those professors, stay in communication, because you may need them for a reference letter down the road, right, Brooke? Right, Joel?
Right.
Yeah.
Always.
So I do have a question, and just for the audience and stuff. So what programs are you all interested in? I know that this is a school shrink channel, and we talk a lot about school psychology, but we open it up to more fields within education and things like that. So what programs are you interested in, and are you interested in maybe an online program or a hybrid program, an on-campus program? What types of things do you all look for in a program, and are some of you also working full time? The good thing about the program that you just entered, Chris, is that it is really flexible for people who work full time. And so I think that a lot of people, especially today, are wanting to get into a program where they can work full time and go to school and earn their degree. So what type of programs are you all looking for?
Yeah, that was one of the primary reasons why I was focusing on this program so much, is that I didn't have to move, and I could still get the same quality education that I would at most other programs and still keep my job. So having to travel up once a month for classes is very doable. for most people, for a lot of people, and those times during the summer as well. But I still get to stay where I'm at, and I don't have to uproot my family and move to another city. Right? Sorry, Brooke. I think I cut you
Yeah.
off.
I don't remember what I was going to say. So, oh well.
Find out on the next episode.
Yeah, maybe so.
Any closing thoughts, guys? I think we kind of hit it's hard to kind of talk about it. I think we could spend an hour on each of those three areas. So we tried to highlight ones that you don't necessarily hear, because you can hear a lot of different things at a lot of different places, but what's a very specific type of stuff. But I think I kind of talked about everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Some great tips and tricks.
Awesome.
And when you hit roadblocks, just bounce back, show your resilience, and keep trying. Try again.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joel. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say also, if you have any questions, things that we didn't go over in this episode, please ask us down in the comment section. We are more than happy to respond to those questions if you have anything else you want to know.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you guys again for watching us over here on The School Shrinks. We try to give you with some valuable knowledge. We try to leave you with tips and tricks. We want you to keep watching to us. So leave us comments, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. And until next time, remember to be the reason somebody smiles. We need as much as we can in our world this day. And be the person that gives and says the nice compliment to somebody that makes their day, because you don't know how much that means to somebody. All right. Until next time, peace out.